Welcome to Intellicide, where we discuss who murdered intelligence and killed common sense. My co host is Kyle, and I am Anthony. And today we're going to talk about the fallout from the main Democratic primary with Graham Platner. So,
Well, actually, I don't know. I think the discussion's a little bit broader than that. I mean, it's what happened in Maine is a story for sure, and I think it's a shame what happened to him. If it's true, then it's probably a good thing he dropped out. But I think the larger story really is why he became so popular in the first place.
Right.
So what were you going to say?
Well, we had discussed a little bit about this earlier, and the Democrats seem to be so high on this, where you have individuals like President Trump and others, Paxton down in Texas, that, hey, we can get down there, and down and dirty, just like you can, someone that's going to fight. And I talked to you about candidates in the past that, none of these candidates would even saw the light of day previously. And we had some, different opinions about that, the validity of that. But, I agree with you on the, when you said that, hey, you're innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
And that there seemed to be a little bit of, hey, it was just an allegation at the time being, so it's a very sticky situation when you decide, with what was revealed about Graham Platner prior to the primary results, that you take a chance. There could be a lot more skeletons in the closet, and I'm not saying that this is true. If the allegations are true, like you said, it's a shame, and it's a good thing that he dropped out. But just the premise that, hey, that could be associated with this candidate, I think is the troubling thing. You don't want someone that, might even be linked to that.
Yeah. So one of the things I'd like to share, so and like you said, like my whole thing is I'm a little bit torn between both the whole, there's the Me Too movement where, you believe all women. And I do think that all women should be taken seriously and believed, and all accusations should be investigated. But at the same time, I do still believe in innocent until proven guilty. And now, this wasn't a court of law, and Graham Platner wasn't being, accused of, not being charged with anything. But it was an election, and so that's a different story. And it was up to him whether or not to pull out. The fact that the Democratic establishment started calling for him to pull out, I think, really what made the difference. But the reason that I think he became so popular in the first place is worth noting. And here I want to share something real quick with you. Because this is, I think, one of the reasons why he became so popular is because he spoke like this. And this is something that, they talk about the rise of democratic socialism. This is what democratic socialism is. It's an acknowledgement of the reality of what's going on around us, and the fact that there is a solution for this, that we can simply make the changes that we need for,
living in today. It wasn't accidental, and it's not.
Can you hear that?
We are living in a system that is operating exactly as it was intended to. In my lifetime, we deregulated the financial banks. We got rid of Glass-Steagall. We allowed stock buybacks to become legal. We changed the tax code. We've made it now so wages are taxed at a significantly higher rate than wealth. That's a math equation you get to run to the end and figure out who wins. We watched speculative financial systems take over every single element of our economy, from our food systems to our healthcare systems to little leagues now. Private equity has so much money, it's just buying up veterinary practices. All of this has happened not because it was natural, not because it had to, but because of policy choices. Policy choices made by establishment politicians in the service of the people that donated the most money to them. It is a system that.
So, yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I think he became so popular in the first place, is because all of that's true.
Oh, yeah. And I agree wholeheartedly with everything that he said there. The unfortunate thing is that we elect these officials, you know, and it's almost like that Eddie Murphy movie, The Distinguished Gentleman, where it's a name that's recognized and people just vote on that. They vote on party affiliation. They don't actually look at the policies that these individuals support, because, you know, as Graham Platner said, most of them don't benefit us. And when I say us, I'm talking about people who didn't inherit wealth, who are not wealthy, who are not, you know, the 1%, and that work for a living. We're literally living to work, and you have to work to live. That's not a great life. Everybody's not gonna be a millionaire. It just is. It's simply not how life is meant to be. Everybody's not going to play on the football team in the NFL. Everybody's not going to play Major League Baseball.
The thing is that this whole system is made up, right? And it's all ruled by laws, and all those laws can be changed. And that's really what he's talking about, is that all it takes is voting for the people who are agreeing to make that change. You know, and that's what democratic socialism is it's using the power of the government to benefit the people it's supposed to represent.
Right.
You know, so that's why all of a sudden you're hearing this resurgence of the Red Scare, where it's, you know, commie, you know, and it's like there aren't even really any communist countries left per se. I mean, there's China and Russia, but they both practice capitalism in a way. They both practice commerce in the same way we do. The only difference is that, and it's one of the things with China, is that they actually redistribute their wealth a little bit better than we do, because they don't practice as extreme of capitalism as we do. You know, where the 1% of 1% get the vast majority of the benefits.
Yeah, listen. Capitalism has its place. The capitalism that we have here in America is terrible, to just, you know, put it bluntly. And we, you know, a lot of times the politicians over here talk about these European countries and that, you know, we're a lot better than them. What we have over here is better than them. Look at the happiness or what's that, you know, rating that they have.
Yeah, the happiness index.
Yeah, where those countries are a lot, you know, the populace is a lot happier because of the systems in place that take care of them. And whether you want to call it just a welfare state or, you know, whatever. And there's millionaires and billionaires over there. It might not be as many as we have here, but they have rich individuals that are able to make a lot of money and maintain their wealth, but they also are able to have systems in place. Hey, you want to take 90 days on maternity leave, you know, or 6 months, however long, you can do that. You want to, you know, a 4-day work week, you can do that. Hey, you just need a mental health break, go ahead and do it.
It's about whether or not you believe that the system exists to serve society, to serve the people, or you exist to serve the system.
All right.
You know, and that's kind of the problem. Any system taken too far becomes dangerous, right?
Right.
Anything taken too far becomes, you know, it's wherein a lot of people call it, you know, cancer capitalism, you know, the cancer stage of capitalism, because it's gotten so bad that the whole idea of growth for the sake of growth, infinite growth, is the same ideology as cancer. You know, the idea that you can force, and that's kind of the thing with private equity, right? So Graham Platner mentioned private equity. you had mentioned before that to me when we were talking that you had gone out to eat recently with your wife to Panera Bread.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you like Panera Bread or if you've been to Panera Bread a lot, but if you've noticed, the quality of Panera Bread's food has gone down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because it used to be back in the day that it was a bakery. They made bread there, and it was it was a lot of fresh food, and they made it there on site. And now it was bought by private equity, and a lot of it is simply reheated. They take food out of a bag, pop it in a heater, and then put it on a plate for you.
Right. Yeah.
And you can tell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And all that's done like with the idea of you can extract increasing profits out of something without affecting the quality infinitely, right? And it's just not true. Eventually you start affecting the quality, and that's what's happening, kind of across the board. You're seeing it across the board in American society. It's shrinkflation. It's just the extract, what's the other term? And shitification.
I never heard of that. What is that?
Yeah, so there's an author who came up with this term, shitification, that basically encapsulates the idea that in seeking infinite profit growth, all businesses eventually in this system end up turning to shit because they turn away from their initial hook or marketing promise. And one of the examples I think he used was Facebook. In the beginning, Facebook was about like getting people together and hooking people up and encouraging conversation and meeting old friends. Now Facebook's all about them pushing a timeline on you.
Right.
That includes advertisements and rage bait and all sorts of stuff that's, not what the original product was supposed to be. And a lot of that's just done in, and they're pushing AI on you. Like you said, that's one of the other things that they're doing right now is corporations are pushing AI on us in the seeking of replacing as many jobs as they can.
Correct.
And this is again going to the whole thing that an economy is a system that we made up as people, right? And it's a system that you need to keep stable or it will collapse. And one of the problems is what they're doing right now is creating a problem where there's not enough demand because there's not enough people with money and jobs to buy the products that they're trying to make and the services they're trying to offer. And, 30, 40 years ago, we switched from a manufacturing to a service economy, right? So most of the things going on in America are services. Well, if you can't sell your service overseas for the most part, like you need the people here to be able to afford your service in order to be able to make money. And they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot by doing this, AI is a great tool that enhances smart people in doing what they're already doing. The idea that you can just take an AI and replace a person with it is a fantasy. A fantasy that has captured the imaginations of the entire executive class. But it's a fantasy because AI is nothing more than a text prediction algorithm. There's no actual intelligence or consciousness there.
Correct.
So the problem is even when it appears to work, it is easily manipulated by the same smart people who could use it as a decent tool. I don't know if you've seen there's a bunch of TikToks, videos going around that's gone viral of all of these AI order taking systems that fast food places have put in place. Because like White Castle and Wendy's have apparently put these AI order systems. You pull up to the drive-through and it's an AI that you're talking to. And there are these things that you can say to it that like, so somebody pulls up immediately and it gives them its prompt and he says I'd like 10,000 water cups. And it doesn't know what to do with it. And so it immediately gives you to a human.
Well, so AI, when you understand how AI learns and as you said, it's not thinking on its own. It's just, patterns, the information that it was provided, learning.
Yep.
Um,
Patterns.
it could be tainted. And that Microsoft AI chatbot, hey, you know, the way that it was turned xenophobic, racist, you know, all these things because trolls decided, hey, you know, we can, you know, teach it this stuff. Well, AI is just like that.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what happened with Grok, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Grok was Elon Musk's AI that he came out with that he trained initially on Twitter or X, whatever. And that's the whole problem is that, you know, X is full of crazy people saying nonsense.
Right. Yeah.
And so his AI, when he first released it, was just a crazy racist, you know, AI that was spouting nonsense.
Right.
And, you know, he had to basically take it back and have him completely rewrite it and cut X, you know, that's he had to acknowledge that his own platform is not a good source.
But he did that.
Yeah.
He did that. He, you know, and I had to stop using X or, you know, formerly Twitter as much because, you know, I didn't know how to, but, you know, you just, you know, scroll past something and just a moment hesitation. I'm like, where's all this, you know, breast and cursing and violent? I'm like, you know, what is going on?
Yeah. 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 He leaned heavily, and he is, you know, one of the worst of those techno bros who, you know, feels like he's a, you know, master of the universe and he can, you know, the laws for the little people, not him.
Yeah.
You know, he and that's, you know, but this isn't the episode's about, but like Doge and all the, you know, deaths he's responsible for cutting U.S. aid.
Graham Platner, he got popular. You know, he's a populist. That message that he had, I do believe that he got popular or whatever because of the anti-establishment feeling wave or whatever you want to call it. That's sweeping this country. I don't live in Maine. I've never lived in Maine, but I have had a problem with Susan Collins for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, some of these votes in the past that she's made.
She's one of the worst people for waffling like on the most morally reprehensible bills, and she'll be like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I'm still thinking about it right up to the 11th hour," when she always votes for it.
Yeah, and she says stuff like, you know, well, they assured me that they wouldn't do this.
Right.
Really? That assurance is about as authentic as a $4 bill.
Yeah.
You know, get out of here.
The whole thing that we're witnessing right now really is kind of an interesting, quiet civil war within the U.S., within the parties, because, you know, we're stuck within a two-party system. Right, where the current system only really enables two parties to maintain power, and so the rich and wealthy class have all they have to do is take control of those two parties.
Right,
they control the whole system. So it's right now it's, you know, in my opinion, I don't know about you, but have you heard about ranked choice voting?
Yes.
So like I'm a big proponent of that, and I think that's one of our how do you put it, best path forward for being able to fix it is if we can enable ranked choice voting in enough places, we can get rid of a lot of these, you know, this right now. I feel like personally, the way I've been describing it is American politics feels like a game of good cop, bad cop, where like we, the people, are being pressured by these two parties who play good cop, bad cop. Depending upon what you care about, you know, they play, you know, where the other side's the evil side and we're the good guys and we care about you, and it just at the end of the day, it's all about their donors, right? Like they actually end up voting on and proposing legislation that their donors want, not what we want. And that's what, you know, Graham Platner and that kind of politician. So there's, you know, the James Tallarico, Graham Platner, Peggy Flanagan, you know, all of these, the Abdul Al-Sayed, you know, Mamdani, you in New York. A lot of this is the same kind of formula where it's populism worked for MAGA. The problem was MAGA blamed. They kind of semi-acknowledged the problem and said, yeah, your life is worse now than it was before and everything. But to MAGA, it was like the reason is immigrants, is that the reason is that immigrant who came over here, that's why you're making less now than you were before.
Right.
And so now they've had years to basically try their mass purge and see if that fixes everything, because that's the premise, right? If it was the immigrants and they've gotten rid of all these immigrants, they've arrested millions of immigrants, taken them out of the economy, taken them off the street, are things any better? According to them, things should be great right now.
Well, President Trump has stated that they're better, but he's so
problem,
insulated
right? Right now, everybody's faced with who do you believe? Fox News or your own wallet,
right?
And they're trying to sell this idea that gas prices are coming down, therefore everything's great, but they're still more than $1 more than they were before he invaded,
right?
And now it's like this whole ridiculous thing where he attacked Iran, started this war, can't find a way to end it, and now he's living in fear of an assassination from the country he attacked, but he's taking it so seriously. He was up till 3 a.m. last night, sending out messages saying that, if they do assassinate me, we're going to completely level their country. It's like, I got news for you. If they do manage to assassinate you, no more decisions are up to you. It's all up to JD Vance at that point.
Right. Well, I'm not sure JD would be any different or an upgrade from the current president.
No, he would be
worse.
Yeah, I don't know. The crazy part, he is two-faced and waffles, and he will do a 180 on a dime.
Right.
But he's not demented in the way that Trump is. Trump, he's not spouting off about the Islamic Republic of Japan.
No, I hear you. I agree, but I just don't think JD Vance would be.
Oh, he'd be terrible. Yeah,
I think he would.
He would be. He is a literal puppet of the oligarchs. He's Peter Thiel's puppet.
Yeah. So I think we are. Because the midterms, they keep talking about these midterms or whatever, but. I'm wondering about who's going to be the next president. Because right now, even JD Vance being the current vice president, I don't see anybody that's going to come along or whatever and take the reins. I don't think JD is going to have it come 2028. I don't think anybody. I can't see anybody right now on the Democratic side doing it. So I'm really sitting here who's going to be the front runner, because they're going to start, running those presidential campaigns here shortly.
Yeah, I don't know. Gavin Newsom's been pushing hard. Nationally,
he has, but that's a long time to be a front runner. And there's that segment that nationwide that I think he'd have a hard time trying to just meet the middle, the independents.
Yeah, he I don't know, he's not well loved in California, but that has to do, I think, with a lot of the fact that he has had his eye on national politics instead of on local stuff.
Right.
But no, you're right. But part of it is there is no celebrity candidate on the Democratic side, right? There's nobody. There are a ton of people that I would love to see, be president, but I don't think that they would ever be able to make it. Did my video freeze for you?
No.
Okay.
So it's funny because if it was maybe 10 years ago and Bernie Sanders was running, again, I seriously think that he would have a shot.
Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders.
Well, yeah, I don't know. If anything, the last few years since COVID, pretty much, how do I put this? I've come to accept that the general public is not as smart as I previously gave them credit. That people are generally much more easily manipulated by the media they watch than I previously thought they were. And I think that's the bigger problem. Is it really, like I know a lot of people who, unlike us, don't pay attention to a lot of news, and they don't want to pay attention to the news, right? Like when you ask them, well, what policies do you support? Like they don't even want to think about that stuff. Yeah. Right. Which is why they tend to treat politics like sports. And they go, all I know is I vote Republican for everything.
Right.
Because I don't want to think about anything. And I've been assured that they're the good guys by Fox News for 30 years or whatever. And so I've been told that the good guys are these guys, the bad guys are those guys, and I don't have to think any farther past that. And don't ask me about policy because I don't know anything about policy. And they'll repeat like talking points that they heard maybe in the past few days from Fox. But other than that, they don't want to know. And I mean, that's a real thing. I mean, that probably has always existed with people who are just so busy with life. But I think that's an even bigger thing now where, when the economy contracts like that and it becomes harder to, meet your everyday basic needs, you have less time to think about that kind of stuff. And that's really what the technogarchs, the techno, bros want. They want the people who work for them to only, in fact, some of them have said it. I'll have to research that. But there's been some quotes from some CEOs where they said like they want their employees to wake up scared, every day. And they want them to go to bed scared because they want them to feel that pressure because they think their employees perform better when they're scared. But it's like you're saying you want your employees to be miserable, right? To have terrible existences. Like that's where we get to again to like, what's the point of business? Like, does this exist to serve us, to serve society, or do we just exist as fodder for them?
Bread and circuses, sir. Bread and circuses.
Yeah.
And you just said something that I think we need to really think about. People are so busy these days. You have a couple of kids, you're working, your spouse or whoever your partner is working. You have maybe some activities that you do, whether it be for the kids or yourself. And right. My day and my week is filled with that stuff. I don't have enough time to really think about, voting. What this person is saying. Hey, did you see this? No, I didn't see it. I was working.
Right.
I was,
what's the truth when half the media is saying this, half the media is saying that? What's really the truth? That's work to try to figure out what's
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and it benefits those individuals at the top that don't want your eye focused on the ball. They want you distracted by those things.
Yeah. So I mean, back to Platner, I honestly think so. We've covered pretty much why he rose and why he got so popular, because he's talking about real problems. He's using a playbook that worked before for MAGA, but the problem is he's a threat not only to the Republicans, but also to at least half of the Democratic donor base.
Right.
The oligarchs they donate to both parties so that they can ask favors of politicians in both parties. And that's kind of the problem, is that the Democratic establishment is opposed to people who talk like Platner because he represents a threat to those people's power right now. If we the people wanted to take back any power, then we have to take it from them, and they feel threatened. So that's they're going after Platner and anyone who talks like him. But there are some, I don't know, I think there are some really good up and coming politicians who aren't old enough to be president yet, but I think they are really, what's his name? The representative, I think, from Florida named Frost.
I haven't even heard of him.
I want to say Maxwell Frost, but I could be wrong. Look him up. He's a young black man from Florida who, again, is very, populist in some of his rhetoric. But there's the two Justins from Tennessee, Justin Pearson and, man, I'm forgetting the other name. But they're two very, very well-spoken young men from Tennessee who are hated by the Republican Party in Tennessee.
Oh, are those the ones that were protesting the redistrict?
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah, I saw a couple videos.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but I think one of them actually got like redistricted out, where like the Republicans gerrymandered the state to get rid of one of their districts.
Yeah.
But it's like those two have a future, I think, in national politics. Well, but part of the problem is, again, going back to the basic, Barack Obama was exceptional. He still is. The guy's amazing. You look at him now compared to, Trump and that, and if they were suddenly to allow people to run for third terms, would absolutely crush them.
Absolutely. As much as President Trump, and it's funny to me that those that support him don't see the obvious glorification that he needs and he wants from everything. Putting his name on buildings, putting his name, on airports. And check out that deal with that airport down there in Florida.
This is the most wildly corrupt administration we've ever seen. He's the only president in our lifetime who actively trades stocks while he's in office.
Yes.
So he literally is trading stocks himself through his broker while he's making decisions, and he's openly insider trading. He's making hundreds of trades right before he makes an announcement that affects that. So he's using the office, but his followers are just trained to go, oh, well, he's just a businessman. That's just smart business. No,
that's not smart business.
That's corruption.
That's not smart business.
Yeah. The guy made, it's crazy to me that, like, even talking about, but a sitting president of the United States made $2 billion last year selling his own currency that competes with the US dollar.
Yeah. Yep.
And his followers are fine with that.
Yeah.
With everything, it's like if any Democrat did any of the stuff that Trump has done, they would be howling for it. But part of the problem is that the media, like I said, people are manipulated by the media because the media paints this picture. If the media pretends, they do this thing called sane washing, where if they pretend Trump is not insane, like he's not completely off the rocker, then his followers just think they'll report on all the crazy stuff he says, but they don't then go on with all these breathless articles like they did about Biden about his mental decline is so obvious and why is he still there in office? You don't see those. So they'll run the article saying the president threatened the Islamic Republic of Japan this morning, and that's it.
I got incensed last night, man. Me and my wife were sitting watching the news last night, Channel 4, and they were talking about that Gordie Howe Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
They said, finally the bridge should be opening here shortly. And the countries settled their dispute over this bridge. And I'm like, what? I said, what?
There's no dispute.
There was no dispute.
That was bribery.
On the American side. Now, anybody, please look this up. The Canadians paid for that bridge.
Yeah.
The entirety of it. They covered the costs. They were going to benefit from the tolls of the trucks going over that bridge to recoup their investment in that. Do you know now they have capitulated and they're going to give up 50% of the profits to a fund that the US will be able to, determine where that goes. I'm like, are you kidding me?
In my opinion, whatever that family is that's bribed Trump to stop the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge,
Mhm.
in my opinion, the people of the state of Michigan and the United States should be able to start a class action lawsuit against those people for screwing our economy over, because it was just open bribery.
Yeah.
I mean, they are literally just openly bribing politicians in order to hurt our economy to benefit themselves. We should be able to sue them out of existence for that.
But what got me was just the way that the news just glossed over that fact. They just said that they settled their differences, the dispute. What?
Yeah. And that's where it kills me about the media these days, is that it's like, it's so obviously in the tank for their billionaire ownership, and there's like still this fantasy, this delusion among so much of the American public that everything is still left-right.
Right.
The left-right is a delusion.
Yeah.
And it's a fiction pushed by the media in order to keep us divided, when the real issue, the real problem, the real divide in America is top and bottom.
You got left, right leading to oligarchs.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And so I am really more about, and this is where I'll say I'm openly democratic socialist, because I really do believe that the government should be serving our needs, not just their donors' needs. And that's what democratic socialism is it means that you think the government should be doing more than just serving its donors. And so that means, that it should be passing laws that benefit us.
I'm rooting for Mayor Mamdani, and
he can't run for president.
No, I'm not saying that he can't run for president. What I'm saying is that all of those democratic socialists that he endorsed that got elected or won their primaries, and everything, that wave, I think we're in a point in time, because of all these conditions that have shown, as poor folk, working class folk, we need to be banding together and forcing and electing those individuals that will benefit us ultimately. So I hope he's successful, and I pray that more of those people will get elected. So then, this is what we're going to do. We're not giving, tax cuts to the, top 1%. If you do give them a tax cut, you got to tie it into, hiring. You got to tie it into, local investment in certain things.
And there's got to be penalties if they back out on that.
Exactly.
One of the big problems they have across the country is where they give companies these huge tax breaks for big projects. And then the company makes all these commitments to the city or the local economy that they just end up backing out on, and there's no repercussions for them for that.
Yep.
And there really needs to be.
Yeah. So I do. I'm not there yet to say I'm a democratic socialist, but I do believe in social programs, and I pray that those individuals get elected, and there's some change coming.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It is. It's funny to me because there's this talking point that gets pushed by the right that, we're not a democracy, because that sounds too much like Democrat, and we're a republic, not a democracy. But the fact of the matter is that the founding fathers named one of the original political parties in this country for democracy. Because that's what they created.
Right.
They didn't create the founding fathers never created a republic party.
Right.
Because they wasn't the word didn't mean anything back then. The word republic still really is kind of meaningless. It just means that you live in like a kind of representative government. How those representatives got there is a totally different story. And that's the democratic part that the Republicans don't want to talk about. Because the fact of the matter is, China is a republic. And North Korea is a republic, but what they're not is democratic.
Correct.
And so that's the thing that it's a total fiction. The fact is, we are a constitutionally protected democratic republic.
Right.
And
well, we're democratic or whatever, as long as the people understand that you have rights and you should be fighting for those rights.
Yes.
Unfortunately, just like, and we've talked about this in the past, where people now have given up privacy, whether it's, I saw a commercial yesterday about iPhone and their Safari browser and how it's the only browser that protects privacy. And I'm like, what are we talking about? Protecting privacy. People readily give up their locations. iPhones, people track their locations on iPhones. You accept cookies from everywhere. Like, and we're talking
your
about
data's
privacy
out there, even if it's anonymized. The fact is, like, even if your phone's not reporting on you, your phone had to connect to the network. So there's a trail.
Right. And so that's where I'm like, the voters today, they, we talk about this Second Amendment wholeheartedly. Everybody knows what that is. Nobody knows what the First, the Third, the Fourth Amendment are. They don't understand that Bill of Rights, that you have rights.
Right.
And it's not just about carrying a gun, it's about all this other, these rights that you have. And we have just washed our hands of it and said, hey, just go do what you're gonna do.
And it's gotten to the point now where the rhetoric from the right-hand side of the media is no longer even just like, because they know their audience doesn't know the Bill of Rights, and they mostly don't care about the Bill of Rights as long as they feel safe. Right. And so they're open to saying, hey, you know what will make you even safer if we get rid of like the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
And those immigrants can no longer be, citizens. That'll make you safer, right? And that's really what it's all about, is manipulating them through their emotions, making them feel.
Well, good luck with that. I don't see any way possible that we have any new amendments, as divisive as the country is now. There's no way that we're going to have 3 quarters of the Congress or the states, voting for anything new in such a manner.
No, if that did happen, if a convention did happen these days, they would strip our rights in a heartbeat. We would lose so many amendments and so many rights, and corporations would suddenly find themselves gaining more rights than we have.
Right.
Well, in a heartbeat, that's what would happen.
Yeah, but I mean, it's simply is not. That's what I'm saying. It's not going to happen. It's too divided.
Yeah. You're not wrong. All right. Well, I think we've probably beat this dead horse enough.
Yes, sir, man. It was good talking to you. We got to do it again, sir.
All right, let me see. Can I we will
all right. Well, hey, look, follow and subscribe. Check us out. You have any comments, please post them, and we'd love to interact and have a discussion, a dialogue with you on these subjects.
All right,
sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. See you later.